Welcome, welcome, welcome to On Friday Inspire. I am your host, Aaliyah, the Purpose Midwife. I want to thank y'all so much for joining us this beautiful Tuesday evening. You could have been anywhere else doing anything else, but you chose to spend it with us, and for that, we are totally grateful. Y'all, I tell you, I want to thank our sponsors, but after I thank our sponsors, we're going to hop right in, okay? I'm so excited about the topic and my guests, but before I do, I'm going to go ahead and go into the sponsorship and thanking them. And then I want y'all, while I'm doing that, I want y'all to hit that share button because y'all know some people who need this topic. Y'all know it, and we're gonna address the elephant in the room, and we're gonna get it handled. Okay. Great evening to you, Pastor T. All right, so here we go, y'all. So thank you to mombizboss.org. If you're an entrepreneur or an aspiring entrepreneur, you want to connect with these moms, multiple operational managers. So you want to connect. These are maybe some relationships that you can glean from, you can collaborate with. Check them out at mombizboss.org. I've placed the information in the Facebook page. Then we have Dance with Mina. You see what Dance with Mina herself is on tonight. If you like Zumba, you want to play with the Zumba a little bit, y'all, we got it for you. Go to Dance with Mina, MENA, over on Facebook. Like her page. Request a virtual link. If you're not in town, guess what? It's okay. She got you. So all you have to do is request a link, and she will send it to you. We dance on Mondays and Thursdays at 6 p.m. Mondays is Zumba and a little bit of line dance, but Thursday is all line dance, baby, cardio. You hear me? We have a good time. So y'all go out there and like that page. Dance with Mina, MENA. You're going to have a ball. You're going to be hooked just like we are. All right. So next, after that, we have, let me send that to y'all because I almost forget to send it. All right. Next, we have Leadership Insight Trajectory. Y'all, if you are a leader of any capacity, you want this on your bookshelf. You hear me? And you can get it right on Amazon, or you can get it in iworkfaith.com. So you want to go get your copy of this and add it to your bookshelf. Not just add it to your bookshelf. You need to be reading this, okay? Because you need to make sure that you are handling your business and stepping up to the next level of where God is calling you to. All right. Next, we have, let's see what our next one is. Next, we have, finally, last but not least, we have my books. And if you don't have my book, I don't know why you don't have them, but you can go get your copies right on onfiretoinspire.com, or you can use the link on my Linktree link. I've added that. If you want to book me to MC, to speak, to do sessions with you, because I actually do self-care and breathing sessions and all that good stuff, because it's time for us to live for real, y'all, right? So without further ado, we're going to get started with the topic of the importance of mental health. And we're going to welcome our guest, Adrienne Forney. Welcome to On Fire to Inspire. How are you this great evening?
Hey, hello, Miss Aaliyah. I am doing well this evening, blessed, and just glad to be here. So thank you so much for having me.
Amen. Amen. I
Yeah.
am seeing good. You're welcome. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. I'm getting some errors over here. I'm trying to see if my Facebook people, y'all do me a favor on the comments. Tell me where you're tuning in through. Are you on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn? I'm getting errors over on the Facebook side. And I'm like, what's going on? But so I want you to introduce yourself to those of us who are unfamiliar with who you are.
Well, I am Adrienne Forney. I am a licensed clinical mental health counselor, supervisor, and I'm also an addiction specialist. And so I bring you greetings from Crossway Counseling Solutions. This is my private practice that I just expanded a couple of months ago. And so I'm very excited about that. And I've been in solo practice just part-time for the past 9 years. And so it was time for me to spread my wings and hire more therapists. I'm so grateful for my staff and all of the therapists that have joined my practice. And it's just a blessing. God is so good. And I'm just so glad to be here.
Amen. Well, thank you so much for joining us and sharing with us. Now, I love to ask the question of the importance of mental health. What does the topic itself mean to you?
So mental health is, of course, being a mental health therapist, is very near and dear to my heart. But, as our society faces many different challenges at one time, now that we're quote unquote out of the COVID realm and there's still so much going on in our society. And so mental health for me just means that we need to band together. We need to connect more to each other because our mental health as a whole is in poor health, so to speak. And, when I think about our mental health, we got to look at it as physical health as well. We'll go to the doctor to get our checkups, but our mental health is struggling, and so it's very near and dear to my heart. This is something that I didn't choose it chose me. And so I'm just so grateful to be able to provide mental health services in the times that we are in to men, women, children, of all ages. Yes.
Amen. Amen. So, what are some of the most common mental health challenges that you're seeing that we're facing today with men frequently that's mostly in women versus not seeing as much in men?
So depression would be the main one. And so depression is very tricky. A lot of times with a woman, we want to fix everything, right? We want to make sure everything is straightened out with everybody else. And unfortunately, this leaves us in the negative zone. As far as I look at it as depleted. We often feel depleted as women because we're taking care of the children, we're taking care of the household, we're making sure everybody else is in good health and so many different things. And so this leaves us on the back burner. And so depression is definitely on the rise. It looks different for everybody. So, back in the day, if someone was diagnosed with depression, they might, want to close their blinds and make the room dark and hard to get out of the bed and everything. While that may be the case for several individuals, depression might also look like a smile on somebody's face. It might look like laughter. And you don't know what somebody is going through on the inside. We can't see the inside. And so this is what makes it very tricky for women because we can play some things off, right? We can pivot in our day to day. And then after all is said and done, we come back home, we're finished with the work day. We are absolutely depleted. And I'm not saying that men don't struggle with depression because they do. Right. But from a woman's perspective, depression, is on the rise. It's getting more and more prevalent. I'm noticing more and more cases of depression and anxiety because those two go hand in hand with each other as well. Some of the other things that I have noticed that's more frequent in women is hormonal changes. Menstruation, pregnancy, postpartum, menopause, all of those things can literally throw your hormones out of whack. And so because of that, there's that depression that sinks in, and then the anxious thoughts, the overthinking, and so all of that can definitely cause a spiral for a lot of women. I notice work-related stress. That's a big one. That right there. That's a big one. These jobs are not getting any easier. It's very difficult to maintain your sanity on a job. And that's men and women, I just think that's how our society is set up. It's like You know, a lot of companies think, oh, well, let me just pile on more and more and more work, not understanding what that will do to the employees, to the staff that have to bear the brunt of the load, and they're actually doing the work each and every day. And so it's very difficult for a lot of people to maneuver. I've had to write a lot of people out of work because of their work related stressors, you know, whether that's like a period of time, whether it's a few weeks or a few months. And so this is something that people don't talk about a lot of times, you know. Back then, hey, you work on a job 30 years and retire, you got your pension and everything set up. Nowadays, that's not the case. And so on my day-to-day, you know, in my day-to-day activity with my patients and my sessions, you know, we talk about ways to cope with those work-related stressors, you know, as it's linked to depression, anxiety, and all of that. Another big thing would be unchecked trauma. That is something we don't talk about in our community. Unchecked trauma.
Yes.
This is where this trauma has been pressed down for years and generations, and it's not getting any better. And you know what I try to alert people on is that trauma is passed down automatically. It's passed down automatically through the umbilical cord. So if grandma, great grandma had traumatic experiences and had to do life, right? Then that grandmother gave birth to the next generation, and so on and so on. And so we are born into trauma day one. And so you can imagine why the depression and anxiety is so high, because we are born into it. We are born into sin. We know that, but we're also born into all of these mental deficiencies and disorders as well. And one big statistic, I want to share this with you all. Is very interesting. When we think about suicide, you know, a lot of people ask me, well, why do people commit suicide? And here's the thing. Suicide has become an option. It has become an option. It's become something that people turn to in their time of need. They want the pain to end. They want their circumstances to change, not realizing that it's a mindset change first. It's a mindset change. But suicide is the fourth leading cause of death amongst 15 to 29-year-olds. And women are more often than men, they are more apt to attempt suicide. So the woman, she might be suffering in silence, but she is more likely to attempt the suicide. The men are more likely to die by suicide more often than women. So this is very, very near and dear to my heart. You would not believe how many times I have to coach a patient through suicidal ideation. And for those that don't know what suicidal ideation is, that is when a person has intense suicidal thoughts, not really with a plan, but passive thoughts of suicide. They might think, oh, well, if I don't wake up tomorrow, I will be okay. And so that's a problem in our society right now. Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. For some reason, the Facebook side didn't go live, but honey, I've been over here and everything doing the live. So
okay, that's all right.
I've been pacing at every page. So yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Wow. Now you said something a moment ago that was kind of like, oh my Lord. You said that when the mother has dealt with trauma and she's just doing life, but she hadn't dealt with that trauma, she can pass it through the umbilical cord. That's mind blowing for me.
Yes.
That is mind blowing for me.
Yes.
Because sometimes people are not understanding why they're feeling like that when it could have been inherited trauma. That was
absolutely. Absolutely. It's automatically passed down. And these are the things that families do not talk about, you know, that and there's a certain shame, in our communities. We are not taught to open up and talk about our feelings freely. Therefore, you got generation after generation holding on to all of this stuff, and that's a lot for one person, right? That's a lot. And then because that goes unchecked, it's just automatically passed down. I don't want to go into all of the brain research and development. I could stay on here all night with that. But there is a part of our brain, the hippocampus. So you all research what the hippocampus is. The hippocampus, it controls our memory center in our brains. And so when we are traumatized, that hippocampus actually shrinks. And so if you are traumatized as a child, just imagine how you got to function with your memory already being at a deficit. And so you think about, there are a lot of children that may not be able to grasp education that well. They may need extra time on their assignments. They may be dealing with ADHD. They may be dealing with so many different things. But again, if they are traumatized at a young age and the trauma from the last generation is passed down to them, it is so difficult to maneuver through that. ADHD at an all-time high right now. It never used to be like this. But our society is triggered in so many different ways. We want a microwave effect. We want to just pop it in and say, okay, it's done, without going through the process. We have to go through the process of healing. But if these conversations are not had behind closed doors where the trauma started, and these children and families are still being traumatized present day, then you have a train wreck in the mental health community. Yes, ma'am.
Ooh, girl, I'm trying to type this and spell it right. Y'all, I'm trying. I'm a scribe from the heart, y'all. I'm a scribe because
yes,
we know these things, so we can go back and do our research and help the next person, help the person. Because someone said a moment ago, Miss Gwen said we need to be educated about these hard truths. She said, "Thank you." That is so true. Yes. Thank you, everyone that's tuning in. Y'all tag someone, share it. Do what you need to do, because we know someone. This is one of those conversations that is the elephant in the room that needs to be addressed.
Absolutely.
It's the elephant in the room that's been in the room too long.
Absolutely.
Nobody.
Absolutely.
Let's talk about that trauma that has happened as a childhood. The childhood trauma. And
absolutely.
the shrinking of the hippocampus, this is all new to me.
Yes.
How, and so it really makes sense now. So you have a 30-year-old woman making decisions from that place of that traumatized 12-year-old. It makes
absolutely. That's it. You nailed it. That is absolutely right. Several adults, men, women, it doesn't matter, are still operating from a traumatized place. Yes. Because their brain has learned that, we are going to panic every time this trigger happens or that trigger happens. And trauma teaches our brains how to function in that way, in the traumatized way. Mm-hmm. So you can imagine it's like derailing our brains, throwing it off track. Mm-hmm. And it's difficult to get back on track if you don't have the right tools in place. Mm-hmm. And there's something that actually, I know my mom's on the live. Hey, Mom, this is something that we actually talked about, and is the example was so clear. We talked about the toolbox of life. And if we think about our emotional toolbox, let's look at what was in our toolbox when we began life. Mm-hmm. Was there trauma? Was there pain? Was there diabetes? Was there hypertension? Was there just drug abuse? I mean, you name it, right? And if we have that in our toolbox, then we got to sift through all of that stuff to find the joy, to find the peace, the love, the hope that we can make it. But if we are not taught that we can utilize other tools,
Mm.
then we are at a deficit for sure. What's in our toolbox? We got to research that. We need to talk to the big mamas. I know big mamas are dying out, but we need to talk to them. We need to sit down with the aunties and the uncles, and we need to get our history. We always talk about physical history, but nobody talks about, was auntie so-and-so schizophrenic? Was this brother or uncle, did they have depression or bipolar disorder? We're not talking about those things. Therefore, we have so many people walking around confused. And when you are confused and you are at a deficit, because remember, the hippocampus shrinks. It shrinks every time we are traumatized, right? We're at a deficit. We're at a negative. What will it take to get us to that positive? Therapy, medication, prayer, a community that's willing to say the truth. The other problem is that I have a problem with is that we are not willing to tell the truth. We got to tell the truth, y'all, if we want to be free. Am I saying that the trauma is just going to go away? It's not a poof be gone type situation. But with the right tools in our toolbox, we can do something about it. The enemy wants us to be quiet, wants us to shut our mouth, wants us to hold it in so that we can kill ourselves. And this is why when I talked about at the beginning, how suicide is so prevalent, that's why. Because we'll eat ourselves alive up here with the overthinking, with the anxious thoughts, with the trauma, the traumatized thoughts, and the trauma responses. It all goes in together. If y'all don't know what a trauma response is, please, please, please research that. I could go into so many details about that, but this is how our society is operating. Day in and day out. You may look at someone, you may see them smiling each and every day, but you don't see the brokenness behind that smile. You don't see their broken heart that they've had to put together over and over again. So we're walking around bleeding from the inside, needing surgery, emotional surgery. It's a lot. It's so much. I'm so glad we're here and that we're talking about this.
Absolutely. Yeah. I was watching, I love to do research around things. And I was watching something that said that a lot of women who are in perimenopause or menopause are being diagnosed as depressed when it's actually something going on with their hormones.
Absolutely.
So
yes, ma'am.
Do these type things because people want to think you crazy, but it's actually hormonal imbalances with these women. And this lady was like, I am a doctor and they put me on all of this mess. So
yes,
speak to some of that stuff.
Okay, so here's the thing. As we age, our hormones, they start to shift. And so they will, it's like it does. It mimics anxiety and depression and, some other disorders. I would say if you are struggling with any menopause, perimenopause, because here's the thing. You don't have to be 40 years old, 50 years old to go through these type of symptoms. These types of symptoms can actually happen in your 20s, your 30s. We got Nurse Gaddy on here. Hey, Miss Lawana, she's on here. I think you can contest to that and tell us about that menopause can start early. Some people go into it very early, especially if you have to have a hysterectomy. You have a total hysterectomy. It's going to throw you into menopause. And so it's very important to make sure that you are seeing a specialist for hormone treatment because you can probably get ahead of that. Now, will the hormone adjustments and all of that, can it cause depression and anxiety? Yes, it can. Okay. And so it's very important to be able to talk through that. No, you're not crazy. It's just a change. It's a change that happens, but nobody talks about this stuff inside out, and there's a lot of people that are struggling day in and day out with these hormones ups and downs. Okay. And so if you are struggling with that, you can be a man or a woman, because we got to keep it real. Testosterone, that's a big issue too. For the men, that can throw you into a depression as well. So please make sure, men, that you are getting your testosterone levels checked, because that type of issue can start in your 20s as well. People always say, oh, as you get older, you're going to experience that. Yes. However, there are cases where this happens ahead of the game as well. And so it's important to have, a provider, a health provider. So primary care doctor or specialist that you're going to, and you're getting these levels checked on a regular basis if you need to. And yes, I agree with what Miss Aaliyah said. Hormone specialist, if you need to do that. Y'all, we got to take care of ourselves. If we have insurance, can we please go get ourselves checked out, please? There's no need to suffer in silence.
Right.
There's no need to suffer in silence, but in our communities, let me be honest, we don't talk about that testosterone. We don't talk about those levels being out of whack as well. So please do not suffer in silence, y'all, if you don't have to.
Please don't. Please don't. Because the enemy wants you to think that you're on the island all by yourself. And guess what?
Absolutely.
You got so many people on the island with you.
Yes. You'll be surprised if you start telling your story. You'll be surprised. And we were taught, keep your mouth shut. Do not tell nobody what's going on in this house. Well, guess what? This is why we are dropping dead at 40, 45, 50 strokes at a young age, because it's too much for our minds to handle. We can't handle all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's time up and it's time out, y'all. We need to get help. There is help available.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Y'all heard her. Help is available. Help is available. Let's talk about something that so many people, they don't know how, but we're going to talk about it tonight. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Boundary setting.
Oh,
let's talk about that one.
That's a big one in the mental health community. That's something that I love talking about, because again, and I'm not trying to discount our upbringing. No, our parents, grandparents, great grandparents, they did the best that they could do, right? But when we learn what a boundary truly is, and we're able to protect our peace, that's what I call it. We're protecting our peace.
Mm-hmm.
Then something happens for us when we can say no to foolishness. We can say no to the extra stuff, and we can protect our peace. We can protect our hearts, because we're not doing that enough. And a lot of people, when it comes to boundary setting, again, this is no judgment, because we weren't taught this, y'all. This is something that we have to learn and practice on a regular basis. But when we think about boundaries, sometimes boundaries is interpreted as, I gotta cuss that person out. I gotta go off and I don't ever have to talk to them again. No, that's not what a boundary is. A boundary is learning how to say yes when you need to, and learning how to say no when you need to at the appropriate times. Boundaries are so important, because if you do not set the boundaries, whoever or whatever you're dealing with is going to take full control over you, your time, your life, your circumstances. And when we can draw that healthy line with our boundaries, then we can promote healthy relationships in our communities. We were taught to go overboard. I was raised in the church, right? So you go to church all day long on Sundays, Bible study, all of this, prayer meeting, whatever you want to call it. We were there. But sometimes These obligations can wear us out. Sometimes we need to take a break. That doesn't mean that we don't love our church family. That doesn't mean that we don't want to be involved. But sometimes we got to press pause, y'all. Press pause, because our hearts can't take it being all over the place all the time. That's where that boundary setting comes in at. Having boundaries and clarifying those boundaries can cultivate mutual respect in the relationships. That's romantic relationships, familiar. I was about to go. I'm sorry, I meant to say family, familial relationships, professional relationships, social relationships. And so if you're the type of person that always say, oh, yes, I'll do it, I'll do it, I'll do it, guess what? It's going to wear you out to the point where you can't function. And if you end up in the hospital or the psych ward, let's be honest, okay? I'm not making fun of it. I'm being real. If you end up in there, then that same person or circumstances that you were stressing about to begin with, are they going to come and get you? Are they going to come and pay all your medical bills from the stress that they caused? Or better yet, the stress that you allowed them to cause? We have to start taking personal responsibility for what we allow. It's easy to blame the other person, but we have the ability and the power to say no. Boundary setting reduces stress and burnout. It also builds self-esteem. It prevents resentment, and it enhances emotional safety. Boundaries support autonomy. Sometimes, more often than not, boundaries, the lack of boundaries cultivates codependency. And we might have to get on another show for that, because the topic of codependency is out of this world.
Oh,
But
yeah.
the lack of, yes,
Yeah,
we need to talk about that.
Mhm.
Yes.
Mhm.
Boundary setting can become, the lack of boundary setting can be very toxic for our mental health. And I want to share a book with you all. Now, this is for the ladies, but men, I think you all can gain something from this text too. There's something that I used to use with a lot of my patients. I love this book. It's called Setting Boundaries for Women. You can download this copy or get a paper copy from Amazon. But there are some steps in there that talk about the 6 steps to sanity. Now, I know it's talking about boundary setting for women, but it is definitely something that the men could utilize as well. Some of the topics, the 6 steps to sanity. And one of those steps is taking personal responsibility for what we do. We got to own it. If we didn't tell brother so-and-so or sister so-and-so that we can't talk right now because we're in the middle of this, or we can't do this right now, if we didn't set that boundary, guess what? They're going to railroad us, and they're going to have the expectation that we are going to say yes every single time. We need to train others how to treat us. We cannot control how they treat us. But from an emotional standpoint, if you have somebody, right, it could be family or friends, if you have a toxic individual that you are dealing with, you've been in relationship with or friendship with, and say, for instance, that they keep calling and calling and calling, texting and texting, you have the power to block. Okay? Can we get a witness? Be a part of the blocking ministry. That doesn't mean you don't love them. That just means you might, Lee, I see you cracking up. You just might have to block them for a little bit to have peace. Or you can press ignore. And when you are in a better mindset, if you're already at 10, don't let somebody push you to a 20. It's just important to be able to reel that in and say, you know what, right now, I can't talk to this person, not because I don't love them, but because I don't have the capacity to deal with the foolishness. Mm-hmm. It might be somebody who just needs a listening ear. And that's okay if you're in the right headspace, y'all. Sometimes we might not be in the right headspace. We might be very tired. We might have our own obligations. And it's okay to say no and not feel guilty about it. This keeps us in emotional shackles, which can lead to some of these other things that we talked about at the beginning. Woo!
Tim said the blockinator.
The blocking ministry. Yes.
She said the
Press
blockinator.
block. Oh, the blockinator. Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah. Now,
Yes.
what's funny is when you said block ministry, I was getting ready to type block ministry. You said it, and I just busted. Yes, you gotta learn the block ministry. Yes, I'm a member of the blocking ministry. Come on, JB, it works. Amen, amen. And it's okay to say no.
It's okay to say no.
To say no.
It's okay. Yes.
It's okay.
It's healthy to say no, though, because again, if you're tapped out, if you're let me say this, if you start your day at 100%, you've had enough rest, eat your breakfast, your coffee, however you want to start your day, right? And then during the day, you're giving out your energy, 10% here, 5% here, 50% here. And when you get back home and you only have 2% left, and then you give that 2% to someone who doesn't deserve your energy, whose fault is that? Again, we got to take personal responsibility. I'm not trying to play the blame game, but we just got to keep it real with ourselves to say, all right, self, did you go into this conversation with this person knowing that they were going to zap the rest of what you have? We got to save that energy for ourselves so that we can replenish. If we don't plug in, then we will wither away. It's just like, I think about it like a battery, y'all. A phone, if our phone is on 1%, we're gonna plug it in, right? Same thing for our mental health. Plug in. We gotta take responsibility for that. Yeah.
Girl, we have to take responsibility and plug in. I love it.
Yes.
The stigma
yes.
around mental health, especially in our community. But let's talk about that stigma and why a lot of people won't get help because of the stigma associated with mental health.
Well, there is a lot of shame in our community as it relates to mental health. I would never forget when I started this journey. Oh gosh, about 16 years ago, people asked me, why do you want to sit and listen to people all day? You don't get tired of that? And I'm like, see, you need to be my first one. Come on, let's get a chart. And I wasn't being mean, but we got to keep it real. You know what I'm saying? There is a stigma. There's a big stigma around mental health. And because people want to do things all by themselves, right? Oh, I can do it. I can hold it together. I got this. That's what we say nowadays. I got this. I'm good. On the inside, we are cracking up. We are losing it. And we don't have to. But again, there is a shame associated with getting help. And let me go ahead and be honest. A lot of people that we may go to in the community have shamed us. Let's be real, y'all. Can I keep it real? Sometimes if you've gone to the church member, can I keep it real? No judgment. This is all around. I'm talking about a community as a whole. You may have gone to somebody who you thought you could trust. And then next thing you know, all of your business is in the streets. So then we get the interpretation that, oh, if I tell something else, somebody is going to run and tell it again. Well, here's the thing. We have to be willing to take the chance of getting all of this stuff off of our chest. We got to be willing to do that. Everybody's not going to hurt us. If that one person or two people hurt us 20 years ago, that doesn't mean that somebody else is going to hurt us just because we open up to them. We have to pray for discernment. Let me say that. We have to pray for discernment and ask God, Who should I open up to? Who should I share my innermost secrets with, that they can be trusted? We have to ask God for that discernment, because if we don't, we would end up telling all of our business to somebody who only gonna take it and stab us right in the back or the throat. Forget the back, they're going for the jugular, right? Nowadays, stab you right in your face. And so we have to be careful to protect ourselves as we are sharing. So there is a shame associated with asking for help. And so that is where things start going, to the left. Silence, right? We are taught to be silent. In some cultures, mental health issues are seen as personal or family failures. Let me be clear. That is a very, very intricate detail. We had to be trained on cultural and generational stigma and the role that it plays in mental health care. And some of the statistics, that we found was, you have some cultures where, say, for instance, there's not a lot of sunlight, right? In their region of the world. And so you will find that those individuals struggle with suicide, depression, anxiety, and they cannot get it together. We need sun, right? But if you live in a region where there's not a lot of sunlight, then you run the risk of those mental health disorders being more prevalent. The other issue of the stigma is that there is not enough mental health care. Let me be clear. It's not enough. It's not enough. Our government, unfortunately, does not see what they may say they do, right? But there is not enough help out there. Our psych wards are full to capacity, right? Our ERs, our emergency rooms, they are full of mental health patients. People need assistance. Some of these psych wards are actually turning people away as we speak. And some of them, not because they're full, but because they don't want to deal with the issue that person is presenting. So guess what that person would do? Go back home, go back into their shell, and cave in. And so there are so many things associated with the stigma and mental health in our community. A lot of people look down on somebody if they want to go and get help. Well, why you want to tell all of your business to that shrink? This is why we die prematurely. Again, like I said before, we're holding too much in. The stigma has to stop, but it starts with us. It starts with us telling the truth. The truth of the matter is, we are dealing with generations after generations of this trauma that we talked about, the shame, the spiritual issues, the spiritual hurt and pain. I could have a whole session about that, of what we go through. And there are so many other things that our community is not trained in. We want to get trained in all these things, but there's, in my opinion, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, there are a lot of churches that are accepting of programs for mental health, but there's not enough. There's not enough. We got to promote this stuff, have more peer social support groups, faith-based initiatives, affordable care. I know at my practice, we do offer sliding scale fees, not free services, but we might offer a sliding scale fee, and that is based on your income. Now, here's the other thing that is very helpful in the mental health community now, is that we have the telehealth component. And so yours truly, I work from home. And so I'm behind this camera every single day, ministering to my patients and everything like that. And so if it were not for telehealth, I might not be able to meet with certain patients, because by the time you go in traffic, right? And you trying to rush to the office to get there, or the office closes at 5 or this or that, and some people don't take after hours. It's a lot of different things and a lot of different situations that's going on. And so this is what keeps us trapped. This is where that stigma comes in at. Yeah. It's loaded. Oh, you on mute, Miss Aaliyah.
It is loaded. It is loaded. Wow.
Yes. Yes.
I don't think that people even think about telehealth for mental health. So when you
Yes.
said that, I think they think of, oh, I got a cough or I have this, but they don't think about, okay, I'm not in a good space and let me call a therapist,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's good. I wouldn't have never thought about, that as an option.
Absolutely. And, with the telehealth component, I know at first, when COVID shut all of us down, I was nervous because I'm a people person. I like to hug, I did like being in the office with my coworkers and, we're bouncing ideas off of each other. But then when we had to work from home, I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I have gained to love it. I've grown to love it. And I'm able to reach more patients, and we offer virtual groups. I mean, there's so many different things that's offered nowadays, and therapy has taken a turn for the better as far as being able to reach people right where they are. Some people might be in their car, they might be at home, they might be at work on their lunch break, anything like that. And so there are so many ways to get help, so many ways. Yeah.
Wow. So we're gonna have to get you back, girl, because there's so much that we want to ask.
It's so much. Yes.
So the person who says, I hear what you're saying, I need to start somewhere. What would we say to that person that says, I just need to get started? What would you say to that person that says, I hear you, you're talking to me, you've been talking to me from the very beginning? What would you say to that person?
So I would say, do a self check-in. Okay. I would say, start there and ask yourself, am I ready to change? Am I ready to go there? Am I ready to deal with the pain? And when you make that mindset change, because it starts there, and then your behaviors follow. We call that cognitive behavior therapy. Okay, thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. So we have to already have it in our minds that we want to change and have that desire to change. And then our behaviors will follow. And so some of the things that I would suggest is journaling, a simple journal. Even if you don't want to write it down, maybe do it on your phone. There are notepads that we have on our phones, and we call this thought dumping. I love doing thought dumps. So that means that we're just sitting in a peaceful place and everything is on our mind. We dump it on paper. We write it down. It doesn't have to be in a particular format. We just dump it out. That's very therapeutic. The other thing that I would suggest is to challenge those negative thoughts. When we have negative thoughts, sometimes that thought can give birth to another thought. Next thing you know, it's going to shut our mental down. And so we need to challenge those thoughts and ask ourselves, is what I'm thinking and believing, is that really true? Or is this the stress talking today? Okay. Another thing, a strategy would be exercise. Y'all, exercise is so helpful, and it just really helps to take the stress off. It's good for our nervous system. And see, when we are stressed, our nervous system, it is challenged. And so we need to make sure that we exercise, even if it's 30 minutes a day or a couple times a week. If you have health issues, definitely want to talk to your doctors about how often you should exercise. But I would say it is a great stress reliever. Alongside of that, listening to calming music. Some people don't like to do that. Some people do. It's very helpful for myself. I love, listen to jazz or classical music, my gospel, whatever floats your boat, to get into a peaceful place. Now, here's another topic that we will have to go into more depth about, but staying hydrated. That's a big big, practical, everyday tool that will help. And you'll be surprised that there are mental health issues linked to dehydration.
Wow.
Because when we are stressed, the stress hormone cortisol is released into our bloodstream from our brain. So every time that we have a panic attack or we're stressed out, we're depressed, those cortisol levels begin to rise. Therefore, it's releasing toxins into our bloodstream. So if we are not flushing that out with like sweating with exercise, or we're not drinking enough water, staying hydrated, then all of that builds up inside of us and causes additional issues. Yeah.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Someone asked a while ago, and I didn't forget it, y'all. I was just trying to make sure I pulled it at the right time. Someone wanted to know how can they contact you. Um, your contact information. They sound like they want to be a client.
Okay, wonderful. We can be reached at, I'm going to go ahead and, or shall I put it in the chat? Or you want to put it in there, Miss Aaliyah?
Sure.
Our office phone number is 980-710
Mhm.
4472. And we are currently taking new patients. We have about 13 therapists on staff. I'm so grateful to God for our staff. And so if you need assistance, please reach out to us, to our appointment line. We can also be reached at appointments@crosswaycs.com. I'm going to say that again. You can email us at appointments with the S at crosswaycs.com. And so we are currently taking new patients. For our North Carolina residents, we do accept mostly all of the insurances. Of course, we have to get that verified and everything like that. We are working on our South Carolina insurances and working on getting our therapists geared up for South Carolina as well. And so right now I'm the only South Carolina licensed therapist on board. So I am working on getting all the other therapists licensed for South Carolina. So we are providing telehealth and in-person sessions. And so if you all need help, please don't suffer in silence. There is help available. And if we don't have the tools that you need, we will make sure that we get you to the right person. Yes.
Juanita is inviting people to hear you speak. I want you to speak on that, please.
Yes. So I will be speaking at my church. Thank you. Miss Juanita is my godmother. Thank you for being here. I have speaking engagement with my own church. I speak often at the church, concerning mental health issues. And so I will be touching on minority mental health on Saturday, June the 28th from 12 to 2. And please come out and see us. For that event. It's in Clover, South Carolina. And so if you all want to come down for our session, we're going to have a good time. We're going to talk about the real deal. Okay. We're going to talk about what's really going on in our communities so that we can become free. A lot of people walk around in emotional shackles each and every day. And so I just want to tell the truth. I want to tell the truth about what's going on.
And what's the name of the church again?
It is Beyond the Walls Ministry.
Okay.
Yes, in Clover, South Carolina.
All right.
Look us up, y'all.
I want to make sure I typed it right. So when you said that a while ago about the self-check-in, that was the topic that Holy Spirit gave me last week. The topic was self-check-in, how are you really doing? And so I just did a session just talking to the people, and we talked about different ways, and we talked about journaling and all of that.
Yes.
But like some things you were saying, I was like, okay, Lord.
Yes, spot on.
Yes.
We have to check in with ourselves. We so busy checking on other people, but then we put ourselves off of the plate.
Yes.
We put everybody else on there. We have a full plate of everybody else's stuff, but then we leave ourselves off. So doing a daily check-in and saying, you know what, self, how am I today? How do I feel in this moment? Am I okay? And if you don't feel like you are okay, instead of suffering in silence, please get some help. We're here.
Absolutely. Adrian, we got to definitely have you back because
Yes,
we
ma'am.
got a lot covered. Well, we got to get some more covered, okay? Because
Yes.
because when we
Mhm.
help people understand that they're not alone, they're not on an island by themselves, that they are the called of God, despite what it looks like and despite what you're
Yes.
feeling like, some of this stuff ain't your fault. Okay? It's
Yes.
not your
That
fault.
is
And
absolutely.
I just thank you for helping bring it to us the way you brought it, because it shined so much light on so many other things of people who've had all these issues and
Yes.
wondering, well, why is that family? Because it was passed down. Makes
Absolutely.
a lot of sense now. So thank you so
Thank you so
much
much.
for tonight. We're gonna definitely have you back again. We'll check out calendars and schedules.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a blessing just to be here and collaborate with you. I think you're doing an amazing job with your ministry on here. Continue to do the great work that you're doing. I'm so proud of you. And thank you for having me this evening. This has been a blessing.
You are so welcome. Thank you again.
Thank you. All
Yes.
right. Have a good night. Thank you.
Mhm. So, y'all, Adrian has given y'all some golden nuggets. She's giving them to you. So, I need y'all to do me one favor. If you have not already, I need you to subscribe and like my page. When we close out, I want you to leave a comment on something that she spoke to that said, oh my God, she hit me right here. Or, oh, I didn't know that. Whatever it was, I need y'all to put a comment in because I need her to know that y'all were listening. I need her to know that she was speaking to you or she was speaking to someone that you can help. And then finally, I want you to sow this into someone's life. So share the replay with somebody because I'm telling you, somebody needs it. Someone's feeling like they're on that island alone, and they're not. And so she has dispelled all of the foolishness that the world has made you feel like you crazy. You're not. She told you a lot of this. It ain't even your fault. So thank you again, Adrian. We appreciate you tonight. Y'all, we won't be live next week. I will be traveling, so we won't be live next week. And so we will be back in 2 weeks back on live, same time, same place. We are generally on Friday Inspire Network on Facebook. We're generally on Aaliyah the Purpose Midwife on LinkedIn and YouTube. Something happened on the Facebook side, but guess what, y'all? I went on Facebook and copied and pasted our YouTube because we're not playing that. The enemy's just mad that she was coming to dispel all the darkness tonight. You hear me? But y'all, thank you again for tuning in. Y'all share this with someone because they need to know the truth. And she brought it tonight. I love y'all. We'll see y'all same time, same place. I am Aaliyah, the Purpose Midwife. Thank you for sharing and coming and spending time with us here on Friday Inspire. Blessings to y'all. Y'all have an awesome, magnificent rest of your week.